Well, it's week 15 in the NFL. Who's good? I don't know. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Nailed it. Grossi. And today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game in the Week 15 slate, and we are past the bye weeks. Commanders, Cardinals, they had the last bye weeks last week, and now there are only 4 games remaining in the regular season, and so it's gonna get crazy. Last week, I went 10-5. I was doing really well until Monday night. Giants. And so on the season, I'm 131-78. Here are the games that I got wrong last week. And we do have a number 1 leader in the Pick'em League, and that is ESPN Fan with 146-62. So congratulations to you. Keep up the good work. And now let's get to the games. Starting off with Thursday Night Football. You got the LA Chargers taking on the Vegas Raiders. And yeah, this game, it is not going to be good. Why? Because it's a battle of the backups. That's what I imagine that game is going to look like. Unfortunately, Justin Herbert put on IR for a broken finger. He's going to miss the rest of the season, which I know is very, very sad and unfortunately has been a common occurrence this year for quarterbacks who just are getting injured all over the place. However, for Chargers fans, maybe with no more Justin Herbert, this means that Brandon Staley has nowhere left to hide. Probably he's going to get fired. Taking on the Raiders, who, yeah, they didn't score a single point against the Minnesota Vikings, losing 3-0. So that was that game. The Chargers, of course, losing to the Broncos. And both these teams are likely to not make the postseason. There's still some hope for the Raiders, but that hope is dwindling very quickly. And this game could go to either team. The Raiders, I'm just so unimpressed with their offense, but their defense is looking really good. And the Chargers, they're going to be starting Easton Stick. Maybe the Raiders defense is going to be able to take advantage of that. But then again, the Chargers defense might be able to get after AOC. So this game is a complete and total toss-up. I am going to go with the Chargers just because Stick looked pretty decent against that Broncos defense. So yeah, I'll go with the Chargers here, but I'm sorry if that saves Brandon Staley's job. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we got Saturday games. You got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Vikings, as we just talked about against the Raiders, they scored 3 points, and that was enough to win. However, Josh Dobbs has been benched, which means the Pastronaut has been grounded.
Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Nick Mullen's going to be getting the start for Minnesota, and of course, Justin Jefferson banged up in that game against the Raiders. We'll see what his availability is going to be this week. They're going to be taking on the Bengals, who had a big win with Jake Browning against the Indianapolis Colts, and right now, Cincinnati, they're holding out hope that they may be able to get themselves into the postseason, which is very possible. With all these injuries going on, and looking at the AFC, you have like 6 teams sitting at 7-6. It is very, very possible. I like what the Bengals are doing in the ground game with Joe Mixon. They're kind of diversifying the play calling a little bit and not just throwing it to one guy. So yeah, there's a little bit of room for optimism in Cincinnati. And this being played in Cincinnati, I'm going to give the Bengals the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say they get the win. I think the Bengals defense is really good, and while the Vikings defense definitely has improved from last year, I just don't know what the heck we're going to see from that offense. And I think the Bengals defense is going to be able to take advantage of that. And so because of that, Kitty, you're going meow this week. Then you got another Saturday night matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. And both these teams, they thought they were going to be getting wins last week.
Right? Wrong.
They were very wrong. The Steelers losing to the New England Patriots on primetime, and to make it even worse, not only did Bailey Zappi look amazing in that first half, but then the Patriots got eliminated from the postseason this past week, and it just makes the loss even worse. And the Steelers, they're missing Kenny Pickett, right? And there might be a change coming in Pittsburgh when it comes to coaching. Maybe they'll move on from Mike Tomlin. I don't know. There's potential. I know there's rumors about Bill Belichick potentially moving on, but it just seems like things are just in neutral for the Steelers as they try to make a postseason berth. Meanwhile, the Indianapolis Colts, as we talked about before, losing to the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's going to be a game they're going to wish they won. And unfortunately, that win streak they had going is now ended. I do like Gardner Minshew a lot, and I think he can potentially still get the Colts to the postseason. So much so, I am going to have the Colts get the win here. I do like the Steelers' defense. However, TJ Watt is also dealing with a potential concussion, so that's something to definitely keep an eye out on. And while the Steelers' defense is that good, I think the Colts will do just enough to get the win, and plus, I just don't trust that Steelers offense at all. And so because of that, Colts, you get the W. Then you got a Saturday night primetime game between the Denver Broncos and the Detroit Lions. The Broncos, as we mentioned before, getting the win over the LA Chargers, and that defense, woo, it's come a long way since getting 70 points scored on them by the Dolphins, and that offense remaining consistent is enough to potentially get them into the postseason because the Broncos, they're vying for a spot as well. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions losing to the Chicago Bears this past week, and it was just ugly. Their defense is not good. And right now, Jared Goff is struggling, which is not making anything better. The offense, the play calling, not looking so great, but it's that defense that is really going to give them problems down the stretch as they attempt to punch their ticket into the postseason and win the division. Meanwhile, the rest of the NFC North, watching the Lions lose.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
I don't want to say same old Lions because I think that's a little bit harsh, but clean your mess up, Detroit. This should be a really close game. Being played at Ford Field, I think it's going to be an insane atmosphere. However, I am going to go with the Denver Broncos here just because I think their defense is going to be able to slow down Jared Goff and the Lions offense. But I would not be surprised if the Lions get the W and will be a good indicator of where these teams are making that playoff push. So yeah, Broncos, I have them getting the win, and I'm also kind of hoping for it too. Then you got the Chicago Bears taking on the Cleveland Browns. Both these teams coming away with a big win last week, and the Bears getting that win. And I'm starting to see Bears fans starting to stir again. And all I gotta say is,
hope is a dangerous thing.
Got to be careful of that hope. But honestly, the Bears defense has gotten much, much better these past few weeks. Montez Sweat, which a lot of people were clowning on the Bears for trading for him, he looks like he is paying dividends right now. And Justin Fields is showing, hey, maybe Chicago shouldn't give up on him just yet. Taking on the Cleveland Browns, who had a big win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joe Flacco throwing for over 300 yards, slicing and dicing. And of course, their defense is absolutely phenomenal. This is going to be a tough game for the Bears to win. I know there's hope that they could run the table in Chicago right now, but they are going to have their hands full against this defense. And if there's anybody that can slow down Justin Fields, it is Cleveland. So because of that, I am going to go with the Browns to get the win at home. And Bears, there's always next year. Following that, you got an NFC South matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. Both these teams losing last week, and honestly, the entire NFC South right now is pretty much this. Everybody's trying to win that division title, except, of course, the Panthers, because they're out of the playoffs already. But the Falcons losing in heartbreaking fashion against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Panthers, they were competitive at least a little bit against the Saints, but ultimately fell flat. And both these teams, I have to imagine, are not having the seasons that they would have liked. The Falcons are still in contention for the NFC South, though I don't know how much I believe in Desmond Ridder and, of course, Arthur Smith, so it's going to be a challenging game. And Bryce Young didn't look too bad against the Saints, so maybe there's some room for progress and maybe some optimism in Carolina. However, I am going to go with the Falcons to get the win here. I do think they are the better team and are a more balanced team, and so because of that, Atlanta gets the win and keeps those playoff hopes alive. Following that, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. As we just talked about, Tampa Bay getting that big win over Atlanta, and currently, they are the division leader in the NFC South. How long will they hold on to it? I don't know, that division is a dumpster fire. Taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. And I have to say, as a Packers fan, after seeing them beat the Lions and then the Chiefs and losing to the Giants,
I'm so mad right now. You guys literally have no idea. I was shaking.
An ugly loss for the Packers in which just about everything went wrong. Jordan Love didn't look good. The receivers didn't look good. The run game was almost non-existent except a few break-off runs from Dillon. And the defense just allowed Tommy DeVito to just walk down the field, get field goal range, and have a nice day. Oh, and the special teams sucked too. Basically, it was a complete disaster. They're going to be taking on the Bucs this week, and this is going to be a very challenging game because the Buccaneers are a solid football team. Now, the one hope I have is that Baker Mayfield doesn't really have a great track record in Lambeau Field, and I have to hope that the last month of Packers progress is not completely gone after that Giants game. This is going to be a close game, and I do think it's going to go down to the wire. I am going to pick the Packers to get the win. I imagine it might be a 2 or 3 point game, but the Buccaneers can definitely walk away with this one. I hope they don't. And the Packers, come on, man, we're so close to the playoffs. Just get there. Then you got the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans in an AFC South matchup. The Texans, everything went wrong for them last week as they lost to the Jets in pretty shocking fashion there. Zach Wilson looking good. The Jets defense just absolutely obliterating the Texans. And unfortunately, CJ Stroud is in concussion protocol right now, so that's a whole lot of no good. Meanwhile, they're taking on the Tennessee Titans, who somehow, some way, won that game on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins.
Well, he's got me now. Or does he? Ha ha!
An amazing performance as Will Levis marched down the field, and that man was hyped on Monday night. And I gotta feel happy for Titans fans because they've had a rough go of it this season. And even if they're not gonna make the postseason, that's gotta feel good to knock off the Dolphins in prime time. And here, they're gonna now be playing a CJ Stroud-less Texans. And while Davis Mills is a pretty decent quarterback, I do believe in the Titans defense. If they're able to slow down the Dolphins, I think they'll be able to do the same against Houston. Being played in Tennessee, I'm going to go with the Titans. And Stroud's, just get well soon. Then you have an AFC East matchup, which all of a sudden got really intriguing. You got the New Jersey Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Jets, as we just talked about, had that big win over the Texans. And the biggest thing is not the defense, because that's just been good all year. It's Zach Wilson and just how comfortable he looked. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that Zach Wilson this week. They're taking on the Miami Dolphins, who, God, they hate December so much because they always collapse. I imagine this is what they're going to look like at the end of the season.
I hate Christmas!
Anger.
Sorry, Dolphins, December is just not your month. And they dealt with a ton of injuries on Monday night. Tyreek Hill getting banged up, and without Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins just really looked like they couldn't get anything going on offense. And this game could come down to the wire, with Zach Wilson looking pretty decent, but of course that defense going up against the Dolphins offense, I think they can definitely slow them down. It is being played in Miami, which should make a difference, even though it didn't make a difference on Monday night. I am going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Dolphins, and right now, if the Dolphins win, things are okay in the AFC East for them. If they lose, however, yeah, the Dolphins have seen this movie before, and I'm so sorry. Dolphins get the win here. Then you got the New York Giants. I'll give it to you because you beat the Packers. Taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Giants. Whew. Daniel Jones just going to be sitting there and watching DeVito Mania take over the Big Apple.
Son of a bitch is charismatic, I'll give him that. But I'm not shaking his hand.
And Tommy DeVito, I got to give him a lot of credit because he was poised in the pocket, plus it helped that the Packers didn't get a single sack on him. On top of that, using the ground game, using his legs was absolutely phenomenal. And Joe Barry, of course, making him look amazing. Never happy about that. And their defense, it's been pretty damn solid all year. They're going to be taking on the New Orleans Saints, who were able to defeat the Carolina Panthers last week. And even in victory, the Saints still did not look good. Derek Carr, I don't even know why he was out there getting yelled at by his own teammates too. He's been dealing with concussions this year. The Saints right now, honestly, they're just a mess. And the Saints, I think, can do enough to win this game. However, the Giants, truth be told, they are one game away from contention for a playoff spot. Yeah, That's how bad the NFC is right now. And I'm going to go with the Giants here. I think that defense, who did really well against the Packers, I think they're going to blitz the crap out of Derek Carr and get after him. And if the Saints defense can't get after Tommy DeVito and he can repeat what he did against the Packers, I think the Giants can win this game. So I'm going to go with the Giants with a little surprise victory here, keeping their slim playoff hopes alive. And yeah, it'll honestly make me feel a little bit better if the Giants win. Following that, you got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New England Patriots. The Chiefs, what the heck is going on? Losing to the Bills, of course, the reaction after that. But the bigger story, they've lost 5 games already this season, which is not right.
I lost. Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose. Let me see the script.
You don't see that very often. The Chiefs offense just can't get anything going when Travis Kelce is not having a great day. As I've said before, I like Rashee Rice a lot, but they just don't have a true wide receiver 1 right now. Of course, Isaiah Pacheco was missing from that game against the Bills. If he returns this week, that is going to be a huge boost on the ground, and I think the Chiefs will definitely be better off. They're taking on the Patriots, and while rumors are swirling about Bill Belichick, they got a win last week with a Bailey Zappi. And while he had a really good first half, they were really limited in that second half against the Steelers, and the Steelers almost came back against them. And let's be very honest, I still don't think the Patriots are a very good team. They got their win on primetime, which I feel happy for their fans, but here, I think the Chiefs are going to bounce back a little bit. Patriots defense is pretty damn good, but I think the Chiefs will be able to limit whatever the heck the Patriots offense has going on. There should be a bounce back game for Kansas City. So yeah, Chiefs, you get the win. Then you got the Washington Commanders taking on the LA Rams. The Commanders enjoyed themselves a late bye week last week, watching the Eagles lose, which I'm sure they got some pleasure out of that. They're going to be taking on the LA Rams, and Rams fans, after that loss in overtime.
So that was a tough loss. How do you feel after that?
How the you think I feel? Don't ask no dumb questions.
I'm so sorry, man. It was a close game, and I know you're looking at Sean McVay and his time management. You're looking at that potential legal block in the back that wasn't called. But as I've said, and I said it on Power Rankings too, I was impressed with the Rams because the Rams really fought tooth and nail against one of the best teams in the entire NFL. So the Rams, you have my respect. They're still contending for a playoff spot, though that loss last week is definitely going to complicate things because the Packers do have a win over the Rams. I do think the Rams should be able to get the win against the Commanders here. The Commanders, their defense is just a shell of its former self. And while I really like Sam Howell and some of the pieces on that offense, I just don't think they're going to do enough to slow down the Rams. And so Rams, you get a win here and keep those playoff hopes a little bit longer alive. Oof. Our next game, you got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The 49ers in a somewhat close game against the Seattle Seahawks, but then absolutely pulled away. Deebo Samuel having an amazing game. Brock Purdy, CMC, you know the drill. They look fantastic. And now, they're going to be taking on the Cardinals.
I must break you.
Yeah, the Cardinals coming off a bye week. I imagine they're going to wish they stayed on that bye after this game because I believe the Cardinals are going to get their ass kicked. I like Kyler Murray, and I think definitely there's some building blocks for Arizona. It's not all doom and gloom, but they're looking forward to the draft already because they definitely need some pieces there. And the 49ers, even though it's a divisional game, they should be able to win this game pretty easily. And yeah, 49ers win. And let's just hope this game is over quick. Then we're getting into some good games here. You got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Cowboys, oh, how sweet it was for them. They beat the crap out of the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football, and they have to be just ecstatic. The defense was great. Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind. CeeDee Lamb is phenomenal. And of course, knocking off the Eagles, now they're in the top of the NFC East. They're going to be taking on the Buffalo Bills, who are on a hot streak right now. Ever since firing Ken Dorsey, that team has looked a lot better. Not perfect, but definitely improving. And this game being played in Buffalo, I think the Bills have a really good chance to win this game, but it's going to be a close matchup. The Bills are still holding on to their playoff aspirations, and they could get it because the Dolphins, they have left the door open, and if they collapse in December, here comes Buffalo. However, Dallas, they're going to be hoping that this is a repeat of the 90s this weekend.
What's the deal with airplane food?
And ultimately, I think this could be the game of the week. Both these teams are looking really good. They're peaking at the right time. And I could definitely see the Cowboys getting a win here. However, being played in Buffalo, I imagine the elements are going to be out, and I think that the Bills are going to be able to sneak away a win here. Now, they're going to have to contend with that defense, including Micah Parsons, and they're going to have to try and slow down Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, which is a lot easier said than done. However, I'm going to give the benefit to Buffalo. I'm going to give them the upset win. And Buffalo, let's see if you go all the way this time. Then you got Sunday Night Football between the Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And imagine telling Ravens fans that Joe Flacco is out here still throwing 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards in a game.
I don't believe this. I don't believe you.
It just happens to be for the Browns now. As we talked about, the Ravens getting a clutch win. Tylan Wallace in overtime, returning a punt for a touchdown and causing celebrations all over Baltimore. They're going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Trevor Lawrence, man, good God. I know they lost against the Browns, but I got to give him all the credit in the world for going out there. After having a high ankle sprain, we thought he was going to miss weeks. And while, of course, the Jaguars offense, they made a resurgence a little bit later in that game, that was just going to be a tough game to win against Cleveland regardless. And this is another tough game. Going against another AFC North opponent, the Ravens right now, they're looking pretty damn good. They're sitting atop the AFC and are favorites to probably represent the AFC in the Super Bowl right now. This will be a tough game being played in Jacksonville. I think the Jaguars are going to put up a really good fight, and plus Trevor Lawrence has another week to heal. However, I got to go with the hot hand here and go with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens to get the W. But I imagine this is going to be a pretty damn good Sunday Night Football game, but I do have the Birds flying away with this one. And finally, you got a battle of the birds on Monday Night Football. You got the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks. And both these teams right now,
you're going the wrong way! He says we're going the wrong way.
Oh, he's drunk. How would he know where we're going?
wrong direction. The Eagles, as we talked about, got their ass kicked by the Dallas Cowboys, and they are on a 2-game losing streak right now. And it's not just the fact that they lost, it's how they're losing. They're getting blown out by some of the best teams in the NFC right now, looking at the 49ers and the Cowboys. So things got to get right quick. Though, I think the Eagles are still going to make the postseason. They will be fine. Taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who, as we talked about before, lost to the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, they had Drew Lock. They're going to hope that they have Geno Smith back for this game. And for the Seahawks, they're another team that's trying to keep those playoff hopes alive. With the Packers losing, they have a shot, but they're going to have to knock off Philadelphia. The fact that the Seahawks are playing in Seattle, I think should help them. Of course, that environment is going to be crazy, but I think the Eagles are going to be able to bounce back a little bit here. I think they are the better football team, and if we're going offense for offense, I think the Eagles just have more weapons. And so because of that, I'm going with Philadelphia to have a bounce back game here, though I imagine it'll be close. But yeah, Eagles hopefully win this primetime game. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you have winning and losing this week? Let me know. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All social media you see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.